want to know never. Soul is an energy. Catch it. Nurture it. Love it. This now. I am. It's a little host. I was here. The world. Born in Ohio. In life, they be remarkable. Child who's concerned about that he was going on in his mind. Through years of studying and a series of profound revelations, Jamie discovered that he had the gift of psychic intuition and could also communicate messages and feelings between people living and those who have left this physical plane of existence. In other words, he can communicate with those who we have loved and lost. Now, with thousands of powerful connections made worldwide and years of experience as his guide, Jamie offers this healing phenomenon to those who need it most. People searching for life, direction, and guidance, as well as those seeking answers and closure from family and friends that have passed. However, you can become fearless. Being in control of your destination has an empowerment. Our mind, ourselves, has the ability to create a future, good or bad, by having a read or attending one of Jamie's sessions. Not only can you understand where you are headed, but you can reprogram your future. And my favorite, to be yours. What's next? I say this all the time on the show. Jamie said it all the time on the show. Something that we believe in. Something that you should believe in. It's called unconditional love. Let me tell you some more. Unconditional love is a behavior and a feeling towards someone. Jamie says he's taught many the techniques of how to take action. Once you achieve unconditional love, your world, your whole world, will change in many, many wonderful ways. May I introduce to you, to the world, to the universe, a friend and a mentor, Mr. Jamie Clark. Oh yeah, he's coming on. I just want to remind everybody that while we're talking, God, they're playing my song. While we're talking here, I want to remind everybody, if you want to come in on the show and you want to say something to both the host and the guest, you can dial 605-472-5764, and then you put in your little code That's 608-060 #. Just do that, and you're in. You're talking to the host and the guest. Now, Mr. Jamie Clark.
Yo, Bobby.
Yeah, man.
Doing, man. It's always good. And you have such a great intro. You make me sound real good.
Well, thank you very much. No,
Hey,
look, hey, come on. Come on. Don't take it away from anything and that you're good.
Thank you. And that's the point. We make a good team. What is 7 years now, I believe it is. And we've been working together.
Yeah. Well, the same, let me see, before you, we're in our 8th year.
God, time fly or what?
So many guys that say, I've been on for 12 years and then I've got 400 in the can. We got over 1,040 shows in the archive. Yep. I was like, what did I do? It's like, whoa.
You did everything right, man. That's the point. You already knew you're putting that library together.
It was wild. It was wild.
And I want to introduce my soul sister, and she is an intuitive life coach, a vibrational sound therapy master, and founder at Nature Nurture Enterprises and actually experiences. Kirsten, welcome. How you doing?
I'm good, bro. How are you doing?
Always great. And, just trying to enjoy this. You and I have known each other for many, many years, and you have so many other modalities, but working as a vibrational sound therapy master, that's huge, because in those vibrations, when I've been able to enjoy some of those, it's a whole different vibe for me, rearranging my whole energy frequency. How long have you been doing this?
Wow. I came to it way before it's gotten so hip now, but I came to it in the late 90s, actually. So there weren't a lot of teachers around. There wasn't a lot of information around. Yeah, I really had to teach myself and try and seek out mentors, because it was not out there, at least in the U.S., the way it is in other countries. So yeah, a long time.
Well, and I know you've also been a singer as well, but because I've heard your voice, and ladies and gentlemen, she's got a beautiful voice. If you get a chance, maybe you'll be able to give them something that they could click on to listen to at some time to hear that. But in addition, out of all of those, what got you interested in doing this style of healing?
So I came to it from being a musician, and originally when I was writing music, and I had a CD that was out in the 90s, and I would get phone calls from people saying, I don't know what's going on with this music, but I was feeling really down, and I listened to the song and it shifted my energy. And I even got a call at midnight from somebody that was feeling like really down and depressed, and said that they put on a song of mine called Sanctuary, and that they just immediately had this feeling of calm and peace. So then I was like, what is it about what I'm doing naturally that is creating that? And I kind of just started searching. And then it was like one of those things back in the beginnings of the internet too, where I just got a pull to like, what is it about sounds and healing? And that got me started. And then I found vocal toning, which I started, and I found a master teacher for that, which was using your own voice for healing. And I went to a class of hers with breath work and toning, which nowadays is more often, you see it, but back then there was like one class I could find, and I had to drive far to go to it. I laid on the table and she started to tone, and she burst out in tears, and she said, you already know all this. So it was like, okay, so what do you have to teach me? She's like, you already know this. The next thing I know, like, we're in the studio going, let's try and intuitively tone together. And we just went into play and have fun. And that became a whole CD of intuitive toning and sounds based intentionally for the chakras and the elements. And so that happened. And that's my sound healing CD that I still use to this day. And I used on myself when I was really ill. And so when I was found out I was very ill with a life-threatening illness in 2001, I had just gotten my one ball here, my 200-year-old ball, that I went to a metaphysical show in Vegas and said, ooh, what's that? and a woman was there, had them from the Himalayas, and I said, you got to show me what these do. I sat down with it, and I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this, but I want this, you know? And so, like, you can hear, it's very, I mean, it goes like right to your core. So this was my first healing instrument. Didn't know what I was going to do with it. I ended up that when I found out I was really sick, I started to use it on my body. And so that's how I got into sound. Was I first was a guinea pig and started using sound on my own body. And then I started adding instruments into that. But initially I just started with the bowl I just showed you, putting it on my center, my core, my solar plexus, and working with my sound healing CD that I had just recorded, and going in and doing the work to do my own body talk, and ended up that ended up being one of the best healing tools when the medicine wasn't working, and I was able to clear the illness. That's how I found it, and then started to, you know, get more about instruments, and went to school later for it, even though I was already naturally doing it.
Do they know, I got a question though, do they know the frequency of the bowl?
Now Tibetan bowls are different because these have a lot of different overtones. Yeah, you can test the frequencies of the bowl. But with Tibetan versus like the crystal bowls that are actually made to certain frequency and tones, it's a little more complex with the Tibetan bowls because they're a blend of, these are hand hammered, and they're a blend of a number of different metals. So the frequencies will kind of change because it has overtones in it. So it depends on how you strike it as well. Because if I strike it with that versus a mallet, you get different overtones.
Yeah, but it's still the same frequency. What I'm thinking, and Jamie knows where I'm going.
Yeah,
Jamie knows where I'm going with this. If it was 528, you hit the jackpot, because that's the love frequency.
Yeah, well, I have it right now.
That calms you. That everything to you, Annette. If you hit that, I mean, I just know it from music, but I mean, it's you know, it just makes you just feel good, you know, all over.
Now I hadn't tested the Tibetan one. This is a 528 in the crystal.
A little closer. Ah, yeah, okay.
Totally different.
You know, you bring up an interesting, because I always have the oddball questions, but with what you were sharing, Kirsten, that seemed to be the vibrations, the tones from the crystal bowls, or what the young lady was working with you on. Not only did it seem to be a vibrational pattern that can help reorganize your structure in your body to give you more healthfulness, but she's picking up vibrations of information intuitively about you. Yes. Everything vibrates. So that tells me you can specifically target certain aspects, whether to infuse and integrate a vibrational pattern of healing, or to kind of pick up, or I don't want to say extract, but pick up information or vibes of people's thought patterns, and giving you that kind of psychic information.
So that's what happens. I used bowls on the body with someone, and they come in with a specific issue.
Oh, yeah.
Then even if I'm using a specific bowl that would be necessarily for that area of the body, it's not always about that, because they may be showing pain in one place, but it's coming from somewhere else, right? So I use the bowls on the body to read their body and to intuitively pick up where there's blockages. And the bowls will talk back to me, because if there's areas of the body where they won't sound, there's an energy blockage. And so I know, but intuitively I may need to use a different bowl in a certain area, and I intuit into that and listen. I'm listening to the sounds and the frequencies that are happening in the bowl when it's interacting with the body, so that I know if I feel like it's breaking apart the energy that's blocked. And so I'm looking for a certain resonance and a certain smoothness to come with the sound to tell me when it's when that area is open, when the energy has opened. But I can definitely notice, and it might be in an instance. I had a client not that long ago where was having severe pain in the back, and I could feel an energy blockage that was showing up in a different area than where the pain was showing up, but I could feel the blockage, and she could not feel any vibration at all in her body in that spot. So then I went and worked some other areas, and just intuitively went to down the leg and some other areas to do some unblocking, went back into the area on the back with tuning forks also, to go in and open up the energy in that area, and then she could start to feel vibration in there. And then what was interesting was that for the first time after we were done, I worked on her for like an hour, moving through where there were blockages and where the sound would not even enter the body. She could not even feel vibration. She was so blocked. And by the time we were done, the pain had finally alleviated, and she hasn't had the pain, hadn't had the pain there since. So, yeah, it's powerful. It's powerful. But it's me having to kind of go in and not diagnose like a doctor would, but read the energy of the person and understand that, listen to my intuition when it's telling me, okay, the pain's showing up there, but I think it's coming from somewhere else, or it's coming from an emotion, not necessarily, physical.
Well, right, but it also, that tells me that the versatility of the vibrations of those can affect you on many different levels, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, all of those things. Do you have people, well, and I'm sure you do, but that are segmented, that have, a decent connection to their life experience and they know what they want, but the rest of it isn't so clear and effective? After a session with you, have you seen a person harmonize their energy frequency to go, okay, just like you were saying, now the bell wasn't ringing, the bowl wasn't doing that when they were blocked, but as soon as we addressed that and we started doing it, they were able to feel the vibration in their body, which also tells me you're not going to manipulate anybody with that. If they don't choose to pick up on the vibe, they're not going to.
Now, what I also love to do is educate people about their own bodies. So when I'm doing that, I'm also talking through a lot of times and asking them, do you notice the difference? Can you feel the difference between like when you didn't have the vibration and you felt blocked there, and then when you started to feel vibration, and then having them, it's really important for me with clients also to have them learn about their own bodies, because even like working in a heart chakra area, if I have somebody, let's say they're blocked from a relationship or something that's ended and they're holding a lot of pain there, and so they're blocked in the heart, and then I can actually sometimes work with the heart, and it may open, close, open, close, open, close, and then I ask them, really, can you notice the difference of when you felt like you let go and you opened that up? And sometimes we'll get a visual so that helps. Like, do you see, like I love using a flower, because you can easily pick out your favorite flower and notice and remember what it looks like when it's closed and when it's open in full bloom. And feeling that in your body. Does my heart feel closed or open, closed or open? And so for me, it's also my whole thing with working with people is it needs to be interactive, because I want to empower people to recognize the shifts in the energy in their own body, so that when they're away from me and something comes up where they feel like, oh, my heart feels really closed right now, and then learning how to work with some of the tools that I've given them to like shift that in the moment themselves without necessarily a bowl even there,
Well, and do you entrain them to go, here, notice how you're feeling with this tone, lock it in, so even, just like you said, even when I'm not here, you can push, for me, I call it the white button. As soon as I push that white button, instantly I'm activated to whatever it is, the mental awareness or spiritual connection that I had. Do you give other people tools and techniques in that way?
Yeah, I usually, a lot of times visuals come up when you're working with sound. And so if somebody locks in on a visual, where that's a great way, and that's something I learned when I was sick too, was to have some sort of an image that you can put to something and really embody that and notice the difference of an image that feels heavy versus something that feels light, or if they're journeying with the sound and an image comes to them of a mountain or, a guide. Let's say they have an animal that they, that feels peaceful to them, and that image comes, that then if they're in a moment where they're like in anxiety, let's say, which a lot of people are in stress, and that's an easy one to work with, is that if they notice a difference, if an image comes up in sound when they feel like they've let the stress go out of their body and they're in this really peaceful place, to embody that image so they can remember it, so that when something comes up and they're feeling in fight or flight or stress, that I tell them, you can go into the bathroom, you can go into the car, you can go wherever you are, take 5 minutes, reconnect back into that image and how you felt in that moment, embody it, breathe it in, connect it with your breath, and then you're able to calm yourself down, even through, remembering that visual that locks it in, along with how the sound made you feel in that moment, So there's a lot of tools.
And that brings up an interesting dynamic. And one, for the work I do, psychic medium, everyone's a psychic medium. It's what level do you want to take it to? But I also know that we're all one. We're all interconnected. So when somebody comes to me, and they'll ask, what about my boss or my spouse or my friend or whatever the case is, all I have to do is go through that person's energy field, ask him about that, and I'll get the SP address, the soul print. That's what you need. There's no guesswork. But I'll go through that energy, and I'll usually be very accurate with personalities and circumstances and dynamics and characteristics, and be like, that's how they are. They're exactly. I'm like, okay, great. I'm doing my job. Now, with that, because if I can do that energy-wise and read the energy connection and get the soul print and their energy and all that, can you transfer, like if you had somebody sitting there that is getting, the treatment from you, can you send that vibe of healing out to their loved one through the person's energy field of connectedness? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I always do that. I love doing that with my groups, especially too, because it's really powerful when you do sound and healing work in a group. And so a lot of times for example, to close a circle, I'll bring them back into their voices, because your voice is your most powerful healing tool that you have, is your own voice, and connecting into their own heart sound, that unconditional love that you were talking about, coming from your heart space and finding a sound that feels like it's your heart space, that feels like it's that unconditional love, and sending that around. I have them send it around the room to each other. And I also then have them send it out if there's somebody that they know needs that in the moment. And then the power of doing that in voice of a group together is really powerful when you're all doing that and everybody's sending out to somebody that they need. So I love doing that with groups. I do it in the private sessions. Yeah, I will have them visualize if there's a person that they feel needs that energy, if that comes up in the session, and then we do some sound and we actually do some visualization and send that out as well. But I absolutely adore doing it in groups because it gets so powerful, and then they get so into it, and it becomes this beautiful choir too. So, and that's another way to use sound in our bodies.
Well, and with that, because everything's vibrations, but have you done a session on somebody and maybe they've activated their psychic gifts or activated their mediumship gifts, because they're both the same, but has anyone had like maybe a connection to a loved one who's passed during a session because of the vibrational patterns that cleared them up, and use their psychic abilities too?
Yes. I've had like several times where people get the image of somebody that's passed and they end up having a conversation with them during the imagery that comes up during the sound. And that's usually just because I usually allow people to just kind of journey with the sound, and then just check in with them and say, where are you at right now? Because then I can see if there's something I need to work on. And a lot of times people will, if there's this old trauma that comes up too, or something that they remember from their grandma or whatever, that person may come in, and then I just say to them, if they show up, do you want to have a conversation with them? and then I step out of the way and just bring the sound around to be like holding space for them, and then they can have that conversation and allow them to open up. So yeah, that happens. That does happen.
Is there a particular frequency, like 528? Is there a frequency that is the connector of the mediumship or the psychic? How did you know what role to play?
It's not something that's purposely done. What happens is with sound, it automatically opens you up, and it opens up those channels to be receptive for that. It's not one particular sound, because sound is so unique to every person that people connect into different sounds. And so you can't say that it's a one fix-all kind of thing, and I don't like to do that anyway. We are unique beings. We all respond to sound differently. So one sound that may trigger somebody and feels uncomfortable for them might open up somebody else. So it becomes more, I think, the whole experience of having all the sounds around them, and then organically, when that is meant to open up, it just comes through fluidly. It needs to come through on its own. And so, in those cases, if that's not something that we're directly trying to work with and it comes up, it's because that space is opened up from the sound, and that's something that needs to come through and be talked about at that time. It's different, like when we're talking about we're going to try and direct things more, that would be a different approach,
And so in doing the healing work, as you help align other people, do you get a healing? Do you have any, like if you've had a challenge, have you gotten clarity about a circumstance in your life while you were assisting another person through the vibrations, or has anything like that happened for you or with you?
It's hard to say, because I'm so into trying to separate myself and just focus in on doing the healing work with them. I think, indirectly I get that, I'm always getting that back. But when I was younger and I didn't separate myself, from people and being an empath, I would suck energy in, and that wasn't good, because I would soak everybody's stuff in, and then I'm not able to be as good of a practitioner, right? So I think I try and be the observer and be the holding space. And so I always go in the zone. What happens to me is I go in the zone as soon as I do sound. So I kind of go into a different space. So I think that, in that way I get a lot of healing energy, but I'm I'm just in the zone. And I think Bob probably understands, because he's a musician. Coming from being a musician, at some points you go into the zone,
I'm smiling over here and I'm saying, man, she knows.
Yeah. So you're really like in your body, but not in your body. And I'm in their body trying to pay attention to them. So if I'm focused on myself, I feel like I'm not being completely present for them. I'm in the zone and I'm locked into them pretty much.
In doing the work that I do, for me, I always have my safety mechanisms. I am always safe, sealed, and energized. Do you have any dynamics of self-safety, self-awareness, that you don't get affected by helping another person, so you're not vibing with their energy? Or how does that work for you?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. When I was young, and when I was first starting out with this, and even I was very psychic as a kid, I didn't have that protection. I didn't know how to do that. And then I shut it away for years. Now, it's just something that I don't even think about. I just automatically step in from that space of like, let me just be there. I always kind of have a conversation with myself before a client and just say, show me what I need to work with here, and set the intention for the space of guide me through what I need to see, and guide me to be the best person that I can be, practitioner I can be for them, for what they need in that moment. And then I don't take energy with me. I kind of set that up ahead of time.
And so with that, are you able to blend a multitude of different frequencies or bowls in a way that ties into one overall vibrational pattern to intensify it or to target a certain dynamic? can you blend a number of those together to create a new vibe, or how does that work for those?
It's, whenever you're working with sound, I mean, at least I do, I work intuitively. So it's not like one set of rules where you use certain sounds in any certain order. I'm listening to their body, but I will use several sounds at once. So I may be using, like, for example, I'll like show you. So we had the Tibetan bowl, right? So like we have a Tibetan bowl here, right? So you have a number of them going.
Yeah. Now,
so if laying them on the body, I have them all up and down the body. So I'm working back and forth between the bowls on the body based on where I feel like I need, and then also tuning in to see if there's one area that needs it more than the other, because the bowls are so I may have bowls placed all along the body, and I'm working back and forth at the same time that I also have you may hear this going, and then I'll have the crystal bowl.
I'll talk to you because an idea dropped into my mind about an opportunity for you that could have some potential, Kirsten. So you might find it interesting, if you're even interested in it. But I'm like, when it dropped into my mind like that, might be something you at least want to hear about. Now, in doing that, are you able to, like for the placement of the bowls when you do a whole body scan,
right,
do you or can you put different bowls? Like, how do you know what bowl to put where?
There are certain ones that go for certain areas of the body. So I may try that first. But then if I feel like again, I work all of us work differently. I work intuitively. If a particular bowl is not working in that area, then I intuit and I really go into what do I think is going to work in this area if there's a block or something to unblock it. And so I'm shifting bowls as well. During the session, I may shift the bowls to other areas of the body so that I'm creating like a path that I feel is opening, if there's a block, or calming down, or whatever that is that I'm working with. So I am moving the bowls back and forth on other areas of the body, as well as bringing the crystal bowls around. So I'm creating a soundscape at the same time that I'm also doing the bowls on the body. Because the Tibetan bowls are primarily I use on the body, the crystal bowls and the gong, and those I have in the room, like on the table and on the floor if I'm doing it on the floor around them. So sometimes it's a continual soundscape of those going as the vibrations are going on the body. But like I said, everybody is unique, so it's a different journey for everybody. But I usually have like opening and closings that I do as well.
Well, and could you put the crystal bowls on the person, or it doesn't necessarily work that way?
I find the most powerful are the Tibetan bowls, and I've done it over the years and tested it with different people. But on the body, the Tibetan bowls are really made to be on the body. And the teachers that I had from India, that taught me how to use on the body as well, those are the most powerful on the body. The vibration just goes in. So it's so ancient, the way that it goes into the body, that I find those the most effective on the body, and to use the crystal bowls in and around them, more as to calm the brain down and to work with them in alignment with the Tibetan bowls.
And what's interesting is I'm sure that you've probably seen it, but I've seen a few of the ad things where they are playing sound and it literally creates vibrational patterns on the cave. That's an interesting dynamic, because if you can create a vibrational pattern, because this is a holographic universe and shapes and numbers and all that kind of good stuff, but can you target a certain frequency that can fine-tune that kind of a connection for them, like to more effectively speak correctly, or breathe more clearly or see more efficiently? Are there target aspects through those frequencies that you can help them to harmonize themselves?
Yeah, there are frequencies that are specific, ancient frequencies that are specific to certain, like Bob was mentioning, the 528, right? There's certain frequencies that are correlated to different organs and to different energies that you want to work with. So yes, yeah, and so you can work with those as well in that.
Okay, by you saying yes to those questions that I've been asking, I'm like, oh, you're kind of solidifying a dynamic that dropped into my big head as an idea that you might, think about. I think you'll find it possibly interesting in a way to go, oh, you know what, that's a possibility. Because, for it to drop into my energy field that clearly and effectively, I'm like, I don't know, I just didn't have to process just there. I'll tell you that there might be a very good potential for you to do very well with this idea that I'll share with you. It's like, oh man, it only takes that one good idea to go, I should have thought about it. Really? Well, information's there for everyone who's going to act on it. So, that kind of capacity is stronger. Now, have you seen, or I want to say heard, is there a possibility that you could change the voice pattern of a person's sound? Like through the bowl, could you get them to speak at a higher frequency or to lower? Or can that also help the hearing for people? Because everything's vibrations on the ear nubs. Can you play certain frequencies that could harmonize or sensitize their ear nubs, to pick up more vibrational patterns? Does it work that way potentially?
Yeah. I mean, I have worked with people that have had like hearing loss and things like that. Now, there's other, like the tuning forks are great to hone in on certain areas as well. And that's putting vibration in like acupressure areas of the body. So that's a whole other beast we haven't delved into, but that's a whole other way to actually target in to certain zones of the body specific to the acupressure points. And so you can do that, for all different aspects. As far as like tone, to have them tone with the voice, you can. What I do when I do toning is to have them try and notice, like if you were to make a sound, where you feel it and how you feel it, and then shift that sound and notice which feels like it resonates more in that area. If you're toning through the chakras, which one feels like it's more natural to you, right? And they'll know, like you can go high and low. Initially I always tell people, go with the first sound, don't like think about it, and go with what feels like it's there. But really notice, like when you're making a sound and I'm asking you to focus into your heart chakra, does it feel like it's really there? Does it feel, and that's really the intuitive stuff, that when you're talking about teaching people to be more intuitive, that's a great way to do it. Because then if they find that tone doesn't really feel like it's sitting in that space and it's feeling open there, then I can say to them, we'll try, play around, find another tone. Does that tone feel, better in that area? Or, like that way it's connecting them in with their own energy. And the same thing in the throat chakra, the same thing when you're going into right here, which we can work with, right, for the intuition, is find the sound that feels like when you're making it, that it's sitting, and you're sending your intention and the sound here. But then you really have to feel in your body, does that feel like that is bringing my energy into that area? And that's a beautiful way to work with the voice.
She just said it too when she was saying that, because the frequency 528 is the frequency of the heart.
Yes.
That's what you feel. And if you've never heard it pure, that is 528.
Wow, you hear that resonance?
This is it in crystal, but it's in a different octave, right? So that's what we were talking about. So this is.
Aha! See, tune up. Now we'll play a duo. Bingo.
Bingo.
Bingo. See, that's what I was saying that before. One of those bowls, I'm telling you right now that it not only does your heart, but it also repairs DNA.
Yes, repairs DNA is a big one. That's the
Yes.
big one with the 528. Now this is toned. So Bob, this is my heart chakra bowl is actually toned for the F, which is the heart, right? So it's a little different, but the frequency won't be. So this is toned more by the tone, which is the F, which is for the heart. So it's not the 528 frequency, but it's the tone for that chakra.
So apparently there's a difference between frequencies and tones.
Correct.
Do you know what?
When you're talking about the chakra tones they use in the bowls, then it's going more by, like you would relate it to the notes on the keyboard. But with the frequencies would be a little bit different, and that's where we're talking about the different frequencies that would be like the 528, 432, things like that.
Right, 432, yes.
Yeah.
Now, with that, water is the most malleable computer on the planet. I've learned that any thought that you think into that water, the molecular structure registers it like a computer and holds it. And Dr. Masaru Emoto did the study of water. And, the kids in grade schools have a little bit of that where they take two similar plants. In one plant, they speak nicely and send a good thoughts, and then the other one, they do negative. And you can see very quickly the difference. With that, because if water can hold the vibrations of thought, to me, it could certainly hold the vibrations or energy of what you're doing. Now, within that, if you can calibrate even just a glass of water and that whole glass is vibing with that energy, couldn't you just take that glass of water that you've just energized with that vibration, take a droplet out and put it into another container and unify that whole container because of the water frequency? And with that, like it does with the water, the human body is 70% water, the brain is 80%. In addition, this planet is 70% water. Can you get people to ripple that energy first through their own, but because of the vibrational lock-in or memory of whatever you want to do, but those vibrations?
Yeah, that automatically happens. And like what I was saying, when you put the bowls on the body, that is even more intense. That really goes into the tissues, the cells, the water in our bodies in a direct way, as opposed to when you're sitting in a sound bath, it's still coming in and it's still being taken in by the body, but it's when you're placing this like on your body, right? So I'm placing this on my body. So this is not just in the room, this is going direct contact with the body, and it will go into the cells, into the tissues, into the water that's in our body. And that's where you can break apart the blockages at a deeper, more intense level because that vibration is going in directly.
It vibrates and it opens the cells.
And it opens the cells. And you can break, there are actually research they've shown of when you're placing sound on, they've placed different sounds and tones on the body, they can break apart cancer cells. They've, shown that. And when I did it for myself when I was ill, I remember going in with the intention of breaking the illness apart, so, and I laid the bowls on my own body while I was doing that visualization, and I could actually, sense, it got to the point where I could read my body so much that I knew when the illness was gone because I went in looking for it and I couldn't find it.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that's why I love doing the work on the body. I love doing sound baths for people because it's so calming and it relaxes people and it helps with pain management and stress and everything. But on the body, takes it up a whole other level because when it goes on the body, it goes in direct and it goes in very fast.
So with that, because we're talking about all the vibrations, the next wave of healing modalities is going to be referred to as vibrational frequency targeting. They already have it. They've had it a long time, but you're not going to let too much of that cash go for all the medicinal aspects, so they'll find their way to wrap around it. But with that and the vibrational frequency targeting, can you specifically target chakras to activate more, to become more precise through those? And in addition, because I'm just going to give you a lot, have you talked to some doctors, or have you gone into a hospital to maybe offer your services to see if possibly are any open for it? Have you already done some of that, or what's up with that?
Yeah, no, there are some that are more open to it. I talked not that long ago to a doctor from UCLA that's out near me, and he is very much open to mindfulness and understands sound. UCLA came out with an article in their medical magazine that I get, the newsletter that I get, all about the power of sound. They're starting to use it with geriatric medicine because it helps with, they're using with Alzheimer's patients. So they're becoming more open to it. And I have had conversations recently, and I have one doctor out here who's very, I guess, ahead of a lot of the other doctors. And he said, I'm keeping you in my records in case I need to refer clients to you for this. So so they're much more open to it, and they're using sound a lot. I mean, just yesterday I had a friend tell me about a doctor that is using targeted sound with tumors, and going in, and they go in and target the tumors with these, with targeted sound. And he's one of the few people I've heard doing that for tumor ablation. They're using cryotherapy, but he's also going in and using targeted sound.
And they shrink.
Vibration frequency targeting. That's it. That's exactly what it is. No side effects in any way on any of the organs or anything. Nowadays,
surgery.
No surgery, and you don't glow in the dark.
Right.
Yeah, I've had that. But as you do it with geriatric patients, have you thought about doing it on mothers, pregnant mothers, newborns?
I have done some with pregnant mothers.
And?
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, I to connect them also with the baby, to just kind of connect their energies, but also now there's another great way you can use sound. I just talked to a studio. I'm going to do some sound baths out here that has a lot of pregnant moms, and they're doulas. And I talked to them about, it's great to have especially the Tibetan bowls during labor, because sound can be used as a way to move through the contractions, so that you get your head out of that space, right? And you can use sound so that when they're in a contraction, that you're actually like playing a bowl, right? And having them focus on the sound and just breathing that in and kind of shifting the energy to be able to calm their bodies down during contractions, And so there are some doulas that are starting to want to learn about how to do that, so you can just have that, during the process.
Well, and that brings up an interesting question is, have you thought about, because if you're connected with the doctors in that way, have you thought about maybe taking a mother who has a beautiful child, but there could be potentially a physiological dynamic that is happening with that baby during, being in the mom? Could those vibrational tones, those frequencies, possibly create a healing of that child or baby that's still within the mother, and maybe heal a certain aspect or a foot that might be different? Have you ever thought about that? Is that something you're open for, or what?
I mean, there's so many. That's a hard one to track, I would say. I mean, the sound is really good to use with moms, just to move through. So I love working with pregnant moms, but I know what you're saying, to do it. I haven't done anything like that.
Have you seen the 3D pictures where it's clear for the
right.
Yeah. Well, how about if you get a 3D picture so it's real time with that beautiful little child, and start vibing with it? See what tones might work or affect, or if you're interested. It's just, I got the oddball ideas.
You also want to be careful around, I mean, with pregnant moms, you don't want to put this, I don't put it directly on the body, because you want to be careful. So you do around the body more so than on the body. Right. So, and you don't usually, we always usually say you don't, even though, the likelihood of it being abrasive, there's so much protection in the mother between the womb and the baby and everything. But we also encourage people, I think most sound healers do, that if you're like in the first 12 weeks of pregnancy, that it's probably best not to throw yourself in the middle of a huge sound bath with lots of sound coming up.
And the infant does hear.
Yeah.
The baby does hear.
So you have to be intuitive and aware when you're working around pregnant moms too. I mean, to just be aware of not bombarding too much sound as well.
And so with things being vibrations, and for me, and anyone who does the healing, you can send energy healing to other people at a distance, and they have their own choice. If they choose to receive it, will do it, vibe with it, and start to heal themselves. Could you do the same with the vibrational sound patterns? Like, because as a master, you know what those frequencies sound like and those patterns and how they can affect, or what organs, or the way that they can operate. Can you send that knowledge to another person at a distance? And have you done that, and have you gotten a response?
Do you mean where I'm like in a session with them? Because I've done it where I'm in a session and we're at a distance,
Yeah, how does that work? Did they? Here's the thing.
I've done it like we're doing, where it's maybe over the video, or because I do sound sessions that way, and yeah, it has had an effect. And we go in and do the visualization too, as well.
So with that, perfect. But what if you're not doing a session with that person? For me, if I do the Reiki, I never approach the deceased, but I only go for the solution. In other words, I'm focused on the challenge. But within that, can you send, like in your own mind, the vibrations of how those tones sound. You know what each of those tones are able to work with. Can you just send it mentally to that person, the recipient, and get a reaction? Have you done that or thought about it?
Yeah, I haven't worked that way, because I really love, I guess for me, it's the most powerful when you're either like working directly on the person, or in the same room with the person. Or when I've done video sessions, it's been very effective, as long as I bring in so that they can feel the sounds, close their eyes and hear the sounds, have them in headphones so they can really embody it. That's the best way for me. I haven't really done it except for when we're doing, like I said, the toning, and we're sending out with the healing energy of the group out. But it's not something I've really done distance healing of just like imagining a sound, because I don't really work that way. I tend to work really wanting to have them, feel and hear the sounds in some way.
Okay. To me, it just brings up an interesting point of, you could be the sender with your vibrational patterns from mental thought, not physical, but mental, and then have the other person, the receiver, hooked up to different brainwave activities and things like that. And then as you send them information, not being in the same room separately, but on a screen, we would be able to see the hemispheric, their brain scan and what's going on and ignited. Have you thought about doing any kind of studies or, just different things to give more versatility to that very talent of those vibrations? Because for me, I'm lazy, but I want to give them as many tools and techniques, kind of like the Psychic Evolution deck of cards that I've created for training. You've got a wide variety of different ways to approach it. Like you already said, nobody's the same physically. They're not going to be the same metaphysically. So are you able to give that kind of a connection or a testing in any way? Or are you interested in doing that? Or
I haven't, like I said, we try and where I hone in on is, for me, being able to see direct results and have that direct interaction has been my main focus. Not so much what you're talking about, doing the distance. I'm always open to learn new things, but I haven't done it, that way.
I think you might find, what I'll share with you about the idea I have for you, at least interesting. because it's got some potential. I'm hearing you talk about all this, and I'm like, yep, that would be perfect. Yep, and give access to people in an amazing way, which would be phenomenal.
Now, can I go off screen for 1 minute and get a sound?
No.
Probably not, no.
No.
We'll talk. We'll talk after it. We'll talk after the presentation.
Okay, I need to go. Okay, I was going to go behind you for a second.
Yeah, sit there. We'll do that at another time. And Kirsten, ladies and gentlemen, Kirsten's coming out here in Phoenix, Arizona, and she and I are doing a presentation on the 27th of this month, January, where it is going to be sound therapy, the sound bath, and the unification, not only getting you in those certain frequencies to a more harmonious vibration, but also I'll be giving you tools and techniques and information in order to harmonize that. So between multiple vibrations, you're going to create a whole new vibe for yourself just by getting those kinds of together connections.
And we're going to also use sound with the intuition to open up the intuition. So so we'll do that. I do that in a little different way that we talked about, and even we'll probably do some toning to bring to connect into their intuition, and use sound to open up the space then to have a conversation, with whatever shows up as well. So,
I feel like somebody's going to be healed at this meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, literally meeting.
Yeah.
Do you feel that too? I mean, it's like I like see this person going, oh my God, I'm serious.
And
You're going to see it.
Yeah, and then it's real time. And these people, of their own selves aren't going to go, oh, I don't feel good. Oh, I feel great. No. Once they feel that, they're right. They get their own validation going, no, this is me and my physical vehicle. I know what I'm experiencing. So when we can do that, have you seen that before? Because Bob, that brings up an interesting question. Have you seen the rippling effect? Like maybe you've got a number of people that are gathered together, whether it's the goat, connection, but like because there's 5 people around the one person who's being sound vibrational healed, has that permeated to other people? Have they gotten that second-hand vibe in their own way?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're in a group. It's like there's a group healing that happens, so there's like them connecting into their own energy, and then I always have them connect in to each other. So yeah, there is a shared healing that can happen especially when you're in a group.
There's a group consciousness going on.
Yeah, exactly. And we had set an intention before we even start, for the whole group, and it becomes like we're all connected while we're here together in this space for the time that we are here, so that becomes then the collective. And so that's a matter of setting the space before we start.
Kind of like life. It's a collective.
Yeah.
Hey, Kirsten, so how can people get a hold of you? How can they get your music? How can they get this?
So on my website, www.kirstenkorotinternational.com. I have all my events there, information about my privates and groups. And you can I have on my YouTube as well, one of the videos for one of the songs from Elements. So I can always, I don't have that on my site, but if they search Kirsten Korot International on YouTube, then they can find, it's called Air Surrender. So if they look up Surrender by Kirsten Korot, then they'll see a YouTube that actually has one that's great to work with your heart energy and the element of air, and that's from my CD. But people can contact me with how to get the CD as well. So because I have MP3s that they can download. I just don't have that on the site right now.
And how do they get a session with you? And can you do it over the internet? Can you do it over the web at a distance?
Yeah. Yes, I can do it over the internet, and so they can contact me. I have a contact me on my site. They can contact me for a private in-person session. I'm in the Sherman Oaks area in California, but I travel around to people's homes.
Bob, she froze.
Yep. Oh well, that kind of stuff does happen. So
Is that crazy? Right on time at 5,
yeah,
man. I'm
right,
like, doink. Oh,
right on the nose. So yeah, see the Wi-Fi just went poop. And the wrong bird flew over the house or something.
God, is that crazy? It seems like that's the case too. Like,
I will say one thing though. Everything she's talking about on here, Net, I've had other shows, Net, with doctors, and that were on the shows, Net, that actually talked about this. And the thing is, and we've been talking about this for years. I mean, it's not just lately. This has been going on for years and years. And the good part about what we've been talking about is more people and more people are actually beginning to believe in it, which is the strange part, and only because I think it was with you. I think I started joking about 528. It was you and Lori, and that because when she was there and we were talking, and we were talking 28 being the love frequency.
yeah.
So you got to turn around love frequency. so whenever you're near a young lady or something like that, if you don't want to get beat up, just carry around this tape and play it on your cell phone. Brr.
That's an interesting aspect there. Yeah, you're exactly right. And I think
Here, just play this in the background while you're talking and everything else. They just go, ah.
exactly that's the point. And no matter where you go, there you are. You've got it in your pocket, literally.
Yep. And
Exactly.
it can heal you. See, I've told a couple of people too about this, and with the conversation that we're having right now with Kirsten is exactly the same thing. By the way,
Drop off.
okay, you go on. Instead of some more text, you could actually do that frequency while you're having lunch, and subliminally wise, it would calm your whole body just while you're having lunch. Now, lunch alone, that is going to calm you out. This thing is going to definitely pull a plug on the rest.
Here's an interesting thing real quick, because, energy vibe-wise, there are restaurants that now literally have people that send the food, Reiki energy, healing, and vibes. Have you thought about doing that with food to see if it brings a richer, more flavorful connection or in any way?
No.
All right, something to think about.
I'm just, you're gonna have me going like,
Hey, boy, you going boy.
What I am doing, no, I'm not working with food, but I do this stuff with the animals, and I'm starting to work more with animals because, and I'm going to be starting some groups doing actual meditation with people and their dogs, where they're both in the sound together at the same time, because we know how animals will get sick, right? They'll take on our stress and they can end up getting ill. And if we're ill, a lot of times you'll see the animals, that empathy, right, they have for their owner, and they'll sometimes, when a person is sick, start getting sick themselves. Or when our animal is sick and then we get stressed and that affects us. So bringing the two energies together so that they're able to align with each other and be in that calming space together is really powerful, because our animals feel so much, and we feel so much with our animals that when when one is ill, the other one can be affected by that, or when one's in stress. And so that's the direction I'm moving more towards, also, is working with people along with their animals, because I've done numerous sessions now with people that have animals in the house, where I've gone to their house and they're like, should I put the animal in the other room? And even like crazy chihuahuas that are going nutty, and I say, no, let's leave them in here with us and see how they respond. And what's fascinating is you can have like a dog that's so hyper and like their energy is so bouncing off the walls. As soon as I start working on their human, they'll go to sleep and they'll just completely relax. And so I always encourage people, no, let's let the animals stay in. But now I'm actually targeting going after doing sessions for either just the animal, if there's an animal especially that's been adopted into a house and feels stress, I can go in and do a session for just the animal, or I can go in and do a session for the person and the animal together.
That's great.
Cool.
Nice,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, good. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we are actually sold out for Kirsten and my upcoming presentation, but we will be putting together some other presentations together. I'm also going to be heading out her way in the near future to do some presentations out in the LA, Northern California area. So if you get a chance, listen to it, and I'll keep you posted as to what's going on and how it's happening. But again, down the road, because Bob and I are going to do some other things on Skype where we're able to do this real time.
Oh,
especially
yeah.
when I do another talk show thing that I'll be doing coming up.
Uh-huh.
But within that, it's got an even stronger energy. We could do this together as a planet, man. Let's just harmonize and heal everything. And then I will talk with you soon, Kirsten, about the idea that I have, if you're interested, it's something to share that might be amusing and could be very beneficial for everyone and yourself.
Yeah, and I also am going to do a special sound bath in Scottsdale when I'm there. On Wednesday the 30th. Our class, Jamie's and my class, is sold out, but we have spaces. I'm doing a sound bath at Abundant Space, and we're doing a cord cutting sound ceremony to cut the cords. So
How do they get those tickets?
it's on my Facebook, which is under Kirsten Korot International, and it's on my website also.
Perfect. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you can find time, man, it's great. And she's not only very talented, but she's an amazing person. I love having you as my sister from another mister. We've known each other for many years. Yeah.
In person and play. We have it, so this is going to be fun.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Plus, you're going to be doing an interview with me for our gift, the show, the television show, The Gift. So you'll be able to, as we get things moving along, you'll be able to tap into that as well and see her work in action. So I'm really looking forward to our time. And again, there'll be some other dynamics, plus some other presentations you'll be doing with some other people that we'll be talking about down the road, which is really cool.
And we got to get you to LA. We got to get you to LA because people want to meet you.
Yep, that's perfect. We got it.
Bingo.
I just appreciate you and doing what you do and how you help others. That's a big thing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
All right, gang. God bless you both. We are out of here.
See ya.
Okay, everybody. Hey, you know what? Listen to this. Jamie, his guest. What you got to do? What you do? Watch the show right in the link. That's right. Go to www.mid1network.com. On the picture of the pyramids, click it. You'll go to the link page and you'll be able to watch tonight's there on the landing page. Bob, y'all. Bob Charles.